Most listeners are really curious. They're on anticipation, Nick. They're ready. They're ready for the next hyperCLEAN drop. Unfortunately, this isn't a hyperCLEAN branded drop, huh? It's a little bit different for us. Something that we haven't done in a while. So why don't you, drum roll? Let's go. What do we got coming?
Yeah, I mean, pretty exciting. As you guys know, we dropped our polish lineup, compound polish in one step, and we've been working behind the scenes about what we really wanted to do long term with pads and machines and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we've made the choice as a brand to really concentrate on the things that we make. And just so everybody's aware, uh, we're not going to make machines. That's not in our future. So there's really no reason to private label a machine. It's really just to go out and find a good machine, and go out and find good pads. Because again, it's very easy to private label a machine. It's very easy to private label pads, as you and I know. But I think you and I both know we've kind of taken this journey over the last couple of years with a lot of different things and said, I think there's some things that's better just to partner with good companies. And so we'll be bringing in, initially, one of the machines we're bringing in is the Liquid Elements 5-inch polisher. And we're going to be bringing in Lake Country pads.
So there are definitely people that have been around will go, hey, well, why not? Right? That's a message I got, right? Message you probably got. Let's go for a second and go, why did we choose not to, put our label on a tool? Why do we not want to put that on pads? Like, you could use your expertise and, you could go find the best that we could import, like we did before, right? We
Well, and
imported
there's a
stuff
bunch not
before.
to, by the way, you don't have to import. I mean, we had, local to the U.S. people sending us pads to test to build our own lineup of pads. I mean, there's a lot of private labeling going on in the pad industry here in the U.S. It doesn't even have to be international anymore. Uh, Part of it is, where is our time best spent? And part of it is when I started to test pads, I think a lot of the private label stuff just doesn't pass the muster of what Lake Country's doing right now. And the other thing is Lake Country, in the pad business, they're USA made. That's not always possible for us to partner with USA made companies, but when we can, we want to do that. And they build to me, they're building the best pads out right now. And so, if we go down the path of doing our own thing, right, and we were way down that path, just so everybody knows, like I have a zillion pads here from all kinds of manufacturers. It was a headache. There was some unprofessional behavior at times that didn't sit well with you and I. And when I started to use the new HDO CCS stuff from Lake Country, and I don't mean like new, like it's been out just this week, but the newer stuff that they've put together, I think 110%. It's the right decision for us, and also it's the right decision for our customers. Right? Is I just want to make sure you guys get the highest quality stuff.
So that's the interesting part, right? Because Liquid Elements, I don't know, until we got it out of the box and pulled the trigger. Don't really know much about it. The thing that people always seem to think is like, man, it's actually is very good quality.
Yeah, it's great quality.
Surprisingly for the sticker price.
Yeah, it's $230 for a 5-inch retail price for all you listening. It's a machine that I didn't expect to like. Right. So I have worked with every major manufacturer of tools. Everybody knows the big names. We were working with one of those names and, didn't get the right vibe and, kind of said, there's some issues I have with some tools and some things and some behaviors. And so we went a different direction. And actually, we were going to kind of punt on machines. At one point, it was just kind of like, I don't want to. And we'll be bringing in other machines, guys, from another brand as well. This is just our first foray into all of this. Wanted to get something that's very user-friendly, easy to get going, good price point. But once I started using it, I found myself not reaching for this other brand that we were thinking about bringing in. It stalls less than most of the big brands DAs. It's got a hell of a lot of torque. It's got a perfect price point for those of you that are just like, hey, I need an extra machine or I need to buy a machine and want to try something new. But also, it doesn't have the massive stalling issue that some of the brands have out there. And so, as I used it more, incredibly lightweight, incredibly smooth, German engineered, although it is made overseas, but it is German engineered. That's where they engineer the tool. I was just impressed. And again, we're all kind of guilty of just we like a tool, right? So you use a tool you like, you use the things you like, and you don't really give everything else a shot, right? You're just too busy to do that. I'm glad I gave this a shot, and it was the right company to bring in.
It's got some cool little features. One that I thought was pretty unique. Definitely, if anybody's a Star Wars fan, you're gonna like the color, almost like Stormtrooper. I don't know.
Yeah,
You just kind of feel
gray
that
and black.
vibe. But I think that that cord, the way it pops off, I
Yeah,
think that's a really unique thing that people are, because people don't realize. Some do, but most don't. Most of the damage to the tool comes right there where that cord inserts, and if the wires get loose, causes other problems inside the tool. Most of the time, that wire gets loose because everybody grabs it and then wraps
yep.
wraps the extension cord, wraps the cord around the tool. So that little bend right there creates actually a lot of problems. So having one that removes,
Yeah,
hey,
detachable
nice.
cord is nice. Like it's a nice feature. I mean, everything about the tool. And again, guys, we wouldn't partner with anybody that we didn't think had something to bring to the table. I think they bring a lot to the table, and I don't mean as a brand. I mean as the tool. The detachable cord, very very smooth, relatively quiet. Uh, really solve the major stalling and torque issues that one of the
Okay,
big
hold on.
brands have out there.
Relatively quiet, because I think that's what everybody always talks about. You did mention German instead of Asian. So a lot of Asian tools that I would also say are a lower priced. Many would, the complaints about those, the negative feedback, are the sounds, that high pitched whirling sound.
Yeah, that
So completely
screeching, that
gone
like screeching.
or
Yeah,
just
it's pretty much
minimized.
it's minimum. I mean, look, I think all tools sound like that. It's just whatever one's minimized, right? So this one's minimized, and like I said, you need to accept the tool for what it is. Great price point. Nice to have an extra one. Nice to get your start. Nice to just try something out. The price point and what you get right now, I think it is the best value in the polishing market, but you're not giving anything up. For one of the big DA brands out there, you're actually I think the performance is better. I think the performance is way better. I'm just so astonished by the stalling issue still being a thing that I don't care how the tool sounds. I mean, I just can't believe we're still in that place. So to me, solving that, being relatively lightweight, relatively quiet, very smooth, it feels good when it's in your hand. It kind of balances itself. It's got a good balance to the tool. And when you start pairing it with the lake country that we selected, like guys, for everybody that doesn't know, I don't have a bunch of time to polish cars every day all the time, right? Every one of my guys, myself, you when you use it. I mean, we had it in some big events that were very private style with a lot of usage. Uh, People just can't believe how good the tool is, and so it starts with it's a good tool. Then you look at the price, then you look at the other things, and it's pretty incredible.
And one of the Nickisms behind the scenes was, at $230, if something goes wrong, listen, just get another one. You're still ahead
Yeah,
of the curve. Like,
yeah, way
you
ahead.
haven't
I mean,
spent as much.
you and I started looking at, and we're going to bring in what people recognize as a more like higher end brand, right? More established brand at some point. We've already been in talks with them. You're getting to some price points that polishers really need to perform a lot better than what they're performing for some of the prices that are being asked today. And I understand price goes up, inflation, all that. I'm not trying to tell people what to charge, but as a guy who's bought hundreds of machines in the last 15 years, literally, I think the price has gotten into a very head scratching moment for some of these brands.
Yeah, and as we say, for some people, probably very littly use those. Is that a word, littly? Hey,
Yeah, I
in
think
Oklahoma it is.
you might want to reword that. As little as somebody may use their tool, It's better just to go with a. But again, I don't think you're giving up anything. I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't bring it in just for price alone. You could state that just as a company policy. We're not going to bring anything in just because of the price point. I want something I would use. I want something I'd be proud to use. This fits all of that. And again, guys, it's just a start for something to be in our sort of paint correction lineup that allows you to come together and get what you need.
All right, so let's talk about it. I know you briefly have gone over the pads for a minute of why we chose Lake Country, right? American made is as we're American manufacturers. We definitely also, we immediately give those people other manufacturers in America, kind of already give them a level up when we start talking to them. But overall, we did love the pads. We love everything about that what they do. Let's go over the uniqueness of the ones that you chose, right? Because Lake Country has a bunch of pads, and
Yep.
no, we did not bring all the pads into HQ.
No.
Ain't
No.
happening. We did. Nick did specifically. It's part of when we were doing the abrasives, right? Like we had to pair them with something. We had to begin working with something when I got to send him a sample up there and he's got to give me feedback. We had to have, in a sense, a
Yep.
basis to go off of. That's a big part of what Lake Country began to do is, hey, these are some great pads that we love and we can build a system off of. They're not the backbone, but a lot of what we did came around with, hey,
Sure.
we're going to pair it with these pads.
Yeah. So look, we I'm a big fan of their low lint wool, but talking to Lake Country, working with their pads, thinking about all you guys out there, you seem to gravitate more towards microfiber. I mean, they said unequivocally, very, and a lot of those guys inside Lake Country would tell you like, hey, I like the low lint wool a little better too, but most people still gravitate towards microfiber. So we took that and we started using it. So for heavy cutting, the blue microfiber is an awesome experience. I'm used to wool kind of flying places. That doesn't bother me. I think some people probably hate it. Microfiber is a little cleaner at times, but it's a great heavy cutting pad. Good interface. That was the number one reason for that. Then the other microfiber we brought in is sort of like and it's the blue and the orange is the backing. It's not actually blue fibers or orange fibers. There's a backing. The orange one is sort of, to me, a good one-step pad if you get a little bit harder clear, just a little bit past medium, and you need to get one step and you want to put, some velo and you wanted to kind of go to work and have a nice finish. But again, if you just need a lighter cut on softer paints, you don't need the blue pad. You want to go with the orange microfiber. So that's a very different experience for me. I didn't do a lot of one steps with microfiber, but it's definitely really clean, leaves a good finish.
The
Uh,
last microfiber pad I used was that Buff and Shine,
yeah, it was a good.
what they call a pepper pad, right?
Yeah, like a
That
Euro
really
fiber
came out,
pad. Yeah.
and was kind of like a big front runner for a moment. But yeah, Lake Country and theirs just began to dominate and began to
Yeah,
take
no,
over.
it's a good pad, man. It's a really good pad. I'm glad we use it. But then you kind of get into two foams, right? And we have everything in the 5 and the 3 inch, just so everybody knows. So we have 5 inch, 5 and 3 inch. When we bring in some more tools, we may try to go down a size, bring in a 1 inch to let guys do some more intricate work. But I don't think there's a large market for that. I don't think a lot of you guys are doing all of that all the time. So
Well,
and there's
this
plenty.
one guy. Well,
Yeah,
Nick, we got
yeah,
people.
there's plenty of punches that you can use to just punch out your own 1 inch pad. So I just think we want to keep it simple for people. So when you get into the foam, this is kind of an interesting thing for me is that you have this blue foam, which you and I had a one pad once upon a time that was this blue foam everybody liked, and this is
Blueberry.
essentially a replica of that. And there's another great one step pad, medium to soft clears, put some velo on it, cycle it through. But also, if you do a deep cut on some harder paints with the blue microfiber, you can step down to the blue and get a nice finish on some harder clears, right? Use our polish and all that kind of stuff.
Now you went with not just traditional like flat foam, right? There's some like little. They don't call
Yeah.
them bubbles. They don't. They're not
Yeah,
waffles. What?
just indentations, just and the whole idea behind that, which I kind of appreciate walking through with Lake Country, is it's a cooling thing. It allows the pad and the panel to stay a little cooler, and I think anytime we can do that, that's a positive, right? The other thing is I actually enjoy it. I think the pad kind of operates a little better than a flat pad. I mean, I got so many flat pads here with nothing on them that I could test it right up against. It's a great pad. It's a great experience. That's what's important to me. And then you go to a little bit softer foam with the orange foam, which I think a lot of guys will use on medium to soft clears. And, a lot of guys use that orange for a lot of things. I mean, I see a lot of one steps with that orange foam, with something like Velo, but works great with Lux. And that's kind of our system, right? So we could have brought in more options, right? Because there's endless options, but every time we bring in more options, people get more confused, right? And I don't really want that. I want to say if you stay in these four pads, you're going to be able to tackle everything you run into. And we've put it through soft pillars and all this kind of stuff. And they have a really soft black pad. But I've been really soft pads just never have been something that I enjoy using. It kind of rolls and folds on itself, and it's kind of hard to keep things operating. But we have the ability. Look, if we see technology change, if we see clears change, we see a need for it, we can bring it in from Lake Country. And that was the other big thing about partnering with a big company is that when you do stuff private label, it's very hard to change your system. But understand if there's any kind of, and I've been told there's something that's going to be debuting at SEMA. If it's great, it can come right into our system, right? And that's the big thing for me is guys, anybody that's private labeling pads, let me tell you, they can't stay up to date with technology. It costs too much. The amount they have to order, the amount they have to put into marketing, the amount they have to do everything, you're kind of stuck with your system for quite some time. And I just didn't really want that. If there's new innovation, if there's new ways to help you guys enjoy these processes, we wanted to be able to do that.
All right, so you've kind of sectioned off, as far as hard and clear, soft clear. But what about more like some specific models? Do you ever like, hey, on a Porsche, I'm probably always going to reach for fill in the blank, right? Like Mercedes, some of these. Can walk us through? I know some people are going to start to question that, right? The one thing they're going to go, what's the price? And then they're going to say, oh, what can I use it on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing so many different people polish so many different ways. It's hard to say this pad and this combo is going to work for you. There's guys that go with a lot of down pressure, light pressure. They let the tool do the work. They used. I mean, if you use a forced rotation, your selection is going to be different than the guy using the DA. And so, my rule of thumb has been I kind of bring everything out to do my test spot, and then I choose what works the best. I mean, if you're on softer clears, you can probably say that the blue microfiber is not going to be necessary. You're going to be able to cut a lot out with that intermediate, orange microfiber, then go back with an orange pad and get your result. Harder clears, and look, you're in Audi, BMW territory, those kind of things. I mean, I think if you're doing a two step, you're reaching for blue microfiber, cut it out, get it done as fast as possible, and probably coming back with the blue foam and knocking out the polish, and you're done. You're ready to go. One step is, I think, where guys are going to have a lot of flexibility. I could see a day in a shop, let's say, with three different cars where you're using Velo with the orange microfiber, you're using Velo with the blue, you're using
Mm-hmm.
Velo with the orange, three
Yeah.
separate cars, three separate finishes. And so, really, what I would tell guys is if you buy into our system, it's probably worth buying all of the pads at some level just to have them and then do your test spot, because I really think, like, we had a Maybach in here that I did a video on, and you're talking about the blue worked tremendous on one step, but there was other stuff I needed to cut out with the blue microfiber. And then I had to go back and do the blue with some polish and stuff like that. Like, the whole thing of our system, the 3 abrasives that we have and the 4 pads that we've brought in, is about building the most flexible system for you to use your way and your style, but also with what you come across, right? Like, I think too many guys are trying to solve the same riddle when it's never the same riddle all the time.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So there is a riddle that we kind of jokingly talk about. So I'll kind of throw it to you to see if you can answer the riddle. Because one of the things that people always like to talk about is, like we mentioned, price, what things cost, what can I use them on? That is it. They always want to know, what can I do to get this done? Like, do I put, right? This is the fun one that we'll go back to. How many dots or how much do I put on to prime the pad? Right? The reason why I
Yep.
jokingly bring it up, because we have a joke about priming, but I
Yep.
want you to talk about the difference of a microfiber pad and then a foam pad. Like, do we go into this moment of priming, like Mildred, and get a shovel out, or how do I prime a microfiber pad versus a foam pad? Is there a difference?
Yeah, I've tested that a lot. And by the way, long before I was, a part of hyperCLEAN, that had become big, and I was working with some people that were very big into that. Some of those guys even had brought it to the forefront. I don't I'm still, just like I feel with foam is how I feel with microfiber. I think just loading up your pad with debris, which, everything is debris to a pad, right? So compound and polish has some type of debris in your pad. Then you have clear coat being cut out. Then you have maybe some, overspray you didn't see, that gets caught up in the pad, or you didn't get off quite enough. So I still stay with the same thing, guys. I mean, I'm sort of a 4 and 5 dot guy, no matter which pad I'm using. I don't really change that. And I've never seen proof in front of and I've had everybody who's big on that do it in front of me. I don't see a different result. I just see a pad that has to be blown out a lot more. I see a pad, especially with microfiber, that becomes way too clogged up too easily. I just, again, to each their own. You and I are very easy on this. If you found a way and you found an amount of product that works for you, great. Okay. But to me, for those asking, I'm still a 4 or 5 dot guy.
So you mentioned the user, right? Like, user experience. While I'm using it, does it gum up, right? That is a thing on some microfiber pads, and combined with some other compounds or polishes, right? I mean, we got to go back to why there's a system, and how, velo is a perfect one to talk about. It will be what we say is the dominant, right? Like,
Yep.
and so when velo is used with a microfiber pad, everybody is going to be different. Once again, thanks for pointing that out. You have a system, though, of trying to do what, a couple panels and then switch. But let's say, they're not going to stick with that system. How will this pad interact? Is this, they want to blow them out? Is this a
Yeah,
spin them out?
you better blow them out. I know there's some pad washer stuff. Obviously, we're in business now with Lake Country as a supplier. I'm probably going to give that pad washer a look. I mean, to be fair to everybody that I made a joke about, I haven't given it its paces. I'm not that worried about it. But for everybody that has never heard me talk before, I'm a pad per panel guy. Like, that's my whole thing. I'll just wash them at the end. I just think it's the cleanest way, the easiest way. It's always worked for me. I mean, 2 small fenders, I may use the same pad. The 2 front fenders or something like that, I may just, go side to side and use one pad there if they're small enough. But I've just always found the one pad method. But yeah, if you're using microfiber or foam in today's world and you're not going to do that, you're either pad washer or blowing it out, and you're not going to get away. I mean, but by the time you go 2 or 3 panels deep and you haven't done that, you're going to see some effects. I mean, you're going to see some tick marks, you're going to see some hazing, you're going to see it, I mean, just flat out not work, right? So the clean pad is a non-negotiable. That's been a non-negotiable as long as you and I, have been around. So whatever you choose, it doesn't change with this. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are Lake Country people now. And again, I think they're doing it the best as we sit here today. But if something changes in the future and somebody starts doing it better, the part of the reason we're doing it this way is we want to be able to go with whatever's the best at the time and not be beholden to this private label game that, quite frankly, I just didn't find when we went through all the steps that was that valuable to our customer.
So you said that people can, take care of blowing them out how they feel fit. Does that include the tornador?
Yeah, it seems to be a big thing. I mean, people like
Oh,
it.
but
So
no, Nick, I get you're signing off on they can use a
no.
tornador.
I mean, you got
Okay,
to
we all
realize,
heard it here. Let's move
just
on.
so we're all
Uh,
clear, I don't blow out pads. So whatever you guys want to use, that's between you guys.
But your best friend, the tornador, you're going to go ahead and get a head nod to.
I
All
did
right,
see
love it.
there may be a new tool for blowing out pads that I'll have to give a run
Hmm.
as well.
Okay, a new tool. All right. Well, so Nick, you sent me a video last week, and I really enjoyed the video. Especially, right now, football season, there's a lot of, let's get moving type of videos. This video that you sent me was from an ex football coach. It wasn't necessarily a hype type video, though. It was more of a a process of life in a sense, kind of like. And he said this. He said, "Did you do your best to be the best you could be, no matter what you chose to do?" I'll say that one more time, like because he was saying basically in a sense, if you lay down at night or if you take a moment to look at yourself or have those moments where you're just driving, right? Sometimes we can have those moments to ourselves when we're driving, and that tick, that little itch, that little feeling comes back. And so this guy was asking, did you do your best to be the best you could be, no matter what you chose to do? It's a
Yeah, it's
great
a good
quote.
video. I mean, it's a
Great
good
quote.
video, good quote. And I think it kind of leads into something you and I are seeing behind the scenes. And we always try to bring stuff that might be relevant to anybody listening out there, that might be relevant to the place you are in your business or life or just whatever. And I think I look at that, and in our line of work and the things we've been involved with, I'd say right now one of the head scratchers that this relates to is professionalism.
Hmm.
Right? Like we see a really big problem in professionalism and what guys, I mean, either understand or don't understand about it, how they represent themselves, be that to vendors like us, to customers, to anybody in between.
All right, so let's break that word down. Do you mean people that are paid, pro detailers, and DIYers? Are you differentiating it that way? Is that what you mean by professional?
No, I mean, I think you could do that, but I think it's anything in life, how you deal with people and, what your name means in the world, right? So you and I have talked about this. I mean, one of the things that was probably a lot more prevalent in older generations leading to our generation was, you know, dads used to talk a lot about, hey, you have my name, this is how we do
Oh,
things, this is what our name stands
yeah.
for. I don't know that that's happening or not happening now, at a high level. I know what you and I see is that people don't really seem to oftentimes care what their name means in the marketplace.
Yeah,
So
my
we see a
dad
lot
was
of, yeah. It,
my bad. My dad was huge. I thought you were going to say what their name, and then you said marketplace. But my dad was huge on this. He was huge on his name, and I better not. Right? That's what he
yep,
tell me. I better not have somebody tell me something you did that embarrassed me. Right? Or
yep,
or
100%.
did right? Because of course we were very religious. So then it meant that he didn't want to even be then embarrassed inside of the church. Right? Like he was embarrassed to whatever socially, but then that embarrassment on top of it, oh, it was heavy. You don't, and when I say heavy, even to listen, guys, even to remembering the time as we were starting to move into the national scene, and I bet you even on one of the trips right before he passed would have been when I came to met you, and even on those trips, I would be saying goodbye to somebody, be like, remember,
Yep.
whose name you represent. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was
God
a big,
damn, Dad, I'm
for
30 something years old. I'm 42, like whatever. It's like,
yeah.
how the
For
hell, man?
for
What the
people that didn't
deal?
have for the people that didn't have that, my dad was big, like, you know, hustling in sports. Like, hey,
Oh, yeah.
if you
Mm-hmm.
get pulled out of a game, you don't walk to the bench, you run. You know, you're wearing
Yep.
my name and those kind of things. I mean, it was a serious for those that didn't grow up that way, because I don't know how everybody's raised. If you had that instilled in you, kind of one of the good things that comes out of it is you kind of think about that as you get older when you're dealing with people in business and life. I'm very big on that with my guys when they're out in public working on behalf of VR. Like, hey guys, we don't do that. I don't know where you guys got that. We don't represent our company that way, those types of things. So it is still part of my life. But I think if it's not part of your life, it's kind of what you and I are seeing an influx of. We're seeing that, guys will regularly ask people like us for favors. Okay. And I kind of liken this to, hey guys, if you have to borrow your neighbor's lawnmower, you probably go over to his house and push the lawnmower to your yard. You don't ask him for his lawnmower and then have him push the lawnmower over to your house. You mow your yard, you probably take some moments and you clean it up for him. Maybe you replace some gas that you used. They're just sort of like normal things that you do, but yet you and I will get asked for a lot of favors, and then people won't perform those types of things. And by the way, I hear this from every brand. I hear this from every owner out there that owns a brand. And it got us thinking about having this conversation about professionalism. And it really stems from not that you have to worry about what another human being thinks of you, right? I don't want to like instill that. That's not what you're doing. You just want everybody to go, no matter what they say about you, you didn't do the wrong things in the moment. You did them on a high level to a high standard, and you can always defend it. Whether you ever do business with those people or something happens you don't see eye to eye, you did so in a professional manner and you did so in a straight up manner, and that's the end of the day.
I think some people, when they're listening, they might be going, well, where am I not professional? Right? Like I think most of us are going to start analyzing themselves into this moment because, right? I know that because we get sometimes like, hey, you're
Sure.
talking about me, right? Like
Yeah, people
we
always
get
say that.
these
It's like,
from people,
guys,
right? Like, so that it tells us, and I know then that is great, and this is why we do it. So then our listeners will analyze their own actions. Okay. So if they're going to analyze their actions and they go, where would my unprofessionalism seep out? Right? The
well,
lowest hanging fruit
go ahead. I'll let you take it.
is talking to Bill down the street, right? No, social media, of
Oh,
course, it's
100%.
what people
100%.
post. Like, and it's like, how do you've said it, and it's like you could beat it over. How do y'all not realize other people are seeing
Yeah.
what you post?
Yeah, so
Like,
the inside. Let's let everybody in on the inside joke. So you and I have some group chats with a lot of different people, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different levels of success in their life. And I'm telling you, people that are successful don't goof around on the internet. Like they just don't. I don't care what you believe. Now, if you go, well, this guy's super successful and all of his beliefs are out there, and he's making money off of those
and
beliefs.
there's a team.
There's a team putting out very highly constructed stuff. And that's okay, but I don't care what anybody does
Yeah,
on
yeah.
their social. Is probably where you and I should say out loud right here. It's your social media. You're going to do what you want. But the one thing we always joke, and everybody is starting to say now because you and I make this joke all the time, is I think there's a lot of people that don't believe everybody can see what they're doing on the internet. Like they expect that you're seeing it, but they don't think they're going to be negatively affected by it. And you and I have watched people. Let's use a story so everybody doesn't think this is just some gray area conversation. Where there's a lot of people in the detailing industry that are angling to be a part of a brand, our brand, other brands, whatever. Okay. And maybe they're mad that that's not happening for them. and they're like, these other people have been picked up by brands, but I haven't been picked up by a brand. You don't understand the politics behind the scenes. But you go, I don't know, man. I've been watching you post on social for years now. And I got to tell you, no brand is going to take you on. And it isn't because they don't like you as a human being or they can't have a beer with you, but the social media behavior is so erratic that they can't associate with you, and you're getting increasingly mad, but you're not thinking to yourself, how is everybody viewing all of this constant posting on the internet?
All right. So to go over some things that we're talking about, we've seen people recently walk through big block stores again, still doing that same thing, with the video camera, but this time instead of towards the products, it's at them, right? And they're talking about XYZ, whatever, right?
Sure.
Like, and in that moment, they're coming across a certain way. There's people that use, which we love, using AI. We love ChatGPT. We love all technology. But then some people, like the same as you, complaining. But they look back. If you look back at their posts, you go, well, maybe some people aren't sure which one's you, which one's AI.
Yeah,
We're,
that's a good
we're
look.
very
But
so
yeah, we watched you
so.
for years make posts where it was hard to put 3 and 4 sentences together. And now you're writing diatribes of pages long stuff. And everybody goes, yeah, I mean, we're all kind of cool with the chat GPT and the AI, but this doesn't feel real. And now they're going to judge you for that. Right. So part of using AI is to use it intelligently. It's kind of funny about, artificial intelligence that now we got to talk about using intelligence intelligently, which we talked about a few episodes ago. But again, there's always a freedom of speech thing. Guys, everybody's allowed to say what they want. We're allowed to say what we want on our platforms. All of you, the same thing. But that doesn't mean you're free from being judged. That doesn't mean that. Like we saw, a very big political assassination take hold here in the last 3 to 6 weeks. Very sadly for that guy and his family, and we saw people get fired because of their reaction to that. We saw people get ostracized, and everybody wants to cry freedom of speech. I'm with you. That doesn't mean you're free from accountability of somebody judging you. And I think that's what people miss about the internet is, hey man, the minute you start playing on the internet, you're playing in this free and open marketplace for everybody to judge you. Take it from a guy who's had several viral moments over the last year with millions upon millions of views across all platforms. It's not a friendly place. It's not a friendly place, even when you're shooting the shit about cars. So I think everybody needs to understand that when we say professionalism, it really encompasses a lot more than people think. And how you deal with things is pretty important.
Okay, great. I'm glad you mentioned there's one more, right? So we talked about, hey, in the big box stores, or we're that guy. We want to talk about products. Not a great professional spot, right? We wouldn't. I think most of us would go, yeah, that doesn't look very professional.
Sure.
Now, you and I could also go, listen, that guy did a professional style video. Some,
Yeah.
right? We could say
Sure.
you could still do, but most of the people, right? If we're going to take some low hanging fruit, most of the people going in to dog the big box stores and those places, or like I said, flip the camera around and, there's people that are talking about how hard it is right now for
Sure.
others, and
Sure.
they're hearing about how hard it is out there. Not a great professional look if you're a business talking about you're going through hard times, right?
Yep.
There's another, right? You mentioned a political. Where do we fall into as professionals? Is that we ever going to give an opinion on something that's going on in culture?
Sure. I mean, look, you can always do that. We may end up doing it somewhere in time. This last political incident, we may have felt compelled to say something. That's fine. I don't begrudge anybody for stating their opinion, but you also then have to live with the consequences. And I think that's what people want to do. They want to, ask for a favor and then not deal with the consequences of what it means to reciprocate said favor. pay an invoice quickly, or, whatever it is. Like I said, borrowing your neighbor's lawnmower. Hey, man, he gave you a favor. You need to fill it up. You need to probably clean it up for him. You probably need to walk it back over to his house. That's part of the favor, man.
All right,
That's,
here's the story from HQ. I keep my old mobile generator. I've kept it.
yeah, I have
The
one
last
here.
one that I bought, I never sold. When I sold the business, I never got rid of it, and I've kept one. Well, last year when we had a freeze here, I keep it, and that's the reason why I use it, so we can run some stuff. Well, I knew a buddy, his house after we got our electricity back, he still needed one. Here, man, yeah, right, you of course, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to go here. Use mine. Nick, I wish I could tell you the next week. I wish I could tell you the next month. I wish I could tell you with even the same calendar year. No, it took multiple visits, took multiple times seeing him, and then finally at a public event at a soccer game, seeing him with all the family and joking about it. I finally got that generator brought back.
Yeah. And so what happens now? You're
He
probably
doesn't
not.
ever get to borrow it again.
Yep. And again, you start talking about what's the effect of that. You burnt a bridge over just not returning a generator. Now, extrapolate that to bigger things, to smaller things, and to everything in between. A lot of the opportunity that I've gotten in my life, and that you can probably say you got in your life, is because somebody assumed you were going to act correctly. Whatever that
Hmm.
is, right? They're like, hey, I get invited to a lot of like black tie events, and hey, my customer's putting on this charity event, and there's this golf tournament, and there's this thing, and there's this, and there's this that. I get invites every week to something. I know people that have been in the business longer than me. They don't get
Let me
invited
pause
to
you.
anything.
I think one of the fun things when you've talked to me about that is you go, one reason why you get invited and one reason why other people lose the reason to get invited is you could go back to what was that coach that was sitting there watching some big play and everybody else had their phone and he was just watching, right? Like there's a professionalism even at the events to
Yep.
where if you act like an idiot taking pictures of everything and
Yep.
being that guy that is out of place, you'll never get really invited back.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've talked to people about collection work because that's kind of like our specialty here in Vegas. And I tell people this all the time: put the phone away. Put the phone away. Wow, that's just cool car. I know. And everybody that's done it my way has been offered more and more collections, more and more work for that collection or other collections. Everybody that's done it the opposite way, oh, yeah, man, I lost those collections. I don't know what. Guys, people that have car collections that aren't on the internet acting like a fool with their car collection, they're ultra private people. They don't actually want people to know that they have a huge house or 10 huge homes, or the ultra wealthy don't actually flaunt their wealth. But because you guys see people playing wealthy on the internet, not actually super wealthy, you think that's how wealthy people act. The truth is, most wealthy people don't want anybody to know. You have customers like that. I have customers like that. They don't want anybody to know. Now, there's some of them, they're like, hey, man, you can use my cars. I'd love for it to help your business. And now, if they gave me the permission, then that's me acting professionally because that person okayed the whole deal, right? But there comes a point in all of this that big or small, we talked about borrowing a generator, borrowing a lawnmower, to being invited to the highest end stuff. There is a professionalism that people expect that invited you to those places or lent you that generator or doing a favor as a vendor that you have to reciprocate. We're talking about one of our big customers behind the scenes that most people don't know about. And one of the things is, if they want us to keep working on projects, they probably need to put in another order to play good business partner. And they haven't been the best business partner because they don't operate with that professionalism. Therefore, they don't get all the bells and whistles of working with us, right? Because you got to handle them in a certain way. And again, all they really have to do is just be a better business partner. So there's a lot of you guys that ask us these types of questions all the time. And the best way I can explain it is, yeah, man, I don't talk crazy on the internet. There's a real reason for that. That doesn't mean I don't have opinions like the rest of you. We all have opinions. But those opinions stay between me and a friend, me and a family member, privately, and not acting crazy on the internet. Because again, that is the judgment place. Whether you like it or not, or I like it or not, you and I have been judged endlessly, and we've had to take the repercussions of having a podcast. We've had to take repercussions of making content. And you and I have never complained about the repercussions because we signed up for it. So the minute you turn that camera on and you start making a political stance, or you start making some stance, or you're always complaining about something, the world is watching. Now, to what extent that world and how big it is kind of becomes irrelevant, but you are being judged fairly or unfairly. That's how it works.
Okay, but there's a lot of people that will go, listen, as I progress in my life and as my income continues to increase, either in my own mind or actually in my bank account, there's this theory and it's this idea, and whether that was, I can't remember if it was Biggie or Tupac, but only God can judge me now, right?
Sure.
Like
I mean,
that
that's
there is this theory that there's nobody can judge me. Like, hey, I am me. I am the company. And right, and it's just right. Beat the chest. That is a theory. Nobody
sure.
can judge me. But you mentioned a word there that I want people to I get it, because I'm a four-headed person myself, right? Like being born in April. What's that? An Aries is a ram. Like it's I I'm forehead. Like let me push through this. Like I get the no judgment, right? I don't really care for what people say about me. Like it doesn't matter, right? I'm
Sure.
that kind of guy too. So I'm with you. But I want us to hold on for a second and think about that word, repercussion.
Yep.
Because even though as an Aries and as somebody that can ram through a lot of things, I've learned some repercussions about
Yeah,
pushing
me
my
too.
body too far, of going too far on my own, and not having a team around. I've learned repercussions about things I say. For instance, like you mentioned, things we used to talk about. We learned repercussions on, well, is it warranty? Will it actually increase something, or did this kind of just waste our time, where we just kind of in a sense like treading water and we weren't really swimming anywhere, right? Like what are the repercussions of what I put out? I guess that's a chess move, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
if you're
and by the
somebody
way,
that
it's not
thinks
easy.
about your repercussions, you're somebody that's forward thinking, like, hey, okay,
Yep.
what's going to happen if I do this? Should I always be concerned that way? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Seems to be a professional thought.
yeah, people always ask me, and I mean a lot of people, hey, you don't comment in this group. And I said, no, I comment in our group. I don't think it's my place to go into another products group. I actually had somebody say that to me, like, why don't you go say something? That I go, that's a product brands group. I'm not, that's not me. And part of it is I just want to be able to go, yeah, I'm not a part of that. That's their brand group and they're allowed to have one. Like we have one, the hyperCLEAN specialist group on Facebook. And hey, we worry about our people and our customers and the things we can control. But largely I learned, a lot in the last 5 years, being on the internet, pretty ironically, right? We're sitting here talking about that. But, even before that, I never saw my customers looking at that as a professional thing. They would make comments over the years about, they had to deal with an issue in their office because so and so did something on their business page that they didn't authorize, and they had huge staffs and were dealing with the fallout and what a headache this has become. And as I started to grow, I just found it a lot easier to interact with people like a lot of you privately. But the other thing is, I just didn't see that I could, other than creating content like we do, things about our product or talking about things on our podcast. I didn't actually see that I could benefit very much.
Hmm.
So I just thought there was way more negative, and you see it now. Look at all these guys that test products. It's just a pure content play, right? Cool, man. I don't have anything against that. but it's not actually anything other than content. It's entertainment. I would find other things much more entertaining than that. But then we want to look at it and those people go behind the scenes to us, man, I'd like a deal and I'd like to work with it. And it goes, well, you just reviewed 700 different brands. How is that going to work? Because it was never a thought about how does my future look? It was, how do I get a view? And this is your big thing. There's a lot of people that live on likes. They don't live
Mhm.
on what's actually good business decisions.
Mhm.
And I can tell you as somebody now, you and I can safely say through Clutch Culture that we get millions of views every month. And it's one of the wildest things to say. And boy, those likes just don't mean a whole lot. It's very appreciated. And I love when people like our content. But there's way more negative attitude that gets and wears on you from people just being trolls on the internet. Those likes, those lose value very quickly. And you just want to do good stuff and you just want to be a professional person and you just want to try to give people good information and have a decent time and maybe entertain some people. But there's people that are living for likes and they're getting the same 10 likes, the same 10 people, the same 3 people. They don't realize it. They've been screaming into the abyss for, I mean, you and I know people in a detailing space. They've been screaming into social media for 5, 6, 7 years and nothing good has come of it.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's their page. They're allowed to do what they want. I don't want people to lose sight of that. But they also don't realize the repercussions that people look at your stuff and go, we don't want to work with them.
Yeah. I keep thinking of this word because we asked the question internally, when we were talking about this, is like, why? Why do people think it's okay to fill in the blank, right? Like, post what they post, go in the groups, say what they say, right? All of we talked about unprofessional behavior. Why do we think, or what's the theory behind that people think it's okay? And I'm going to use the word normalization. It
Good
became
word.
so normal in a sense that we all just thought that that's what we were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were asked a question growing up. Well, if somebody asked you to jump off that building, would you jump off?
Yeah, that was a big '90s reference right there.
Fucking always. Now today, I think they just talk about all the like.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so different. It really is. Like, thinking of the word normalization. All right, so uh, in society, right, is something I've learned. Normalization. If you let's just say it this way, if you talk about suicide like
yep,
it's something that happens on a regular basis, which it does,
sure,
but news and other people really try not to talk about it, because if you normalize it, then other people go, oh, well, I guess I can do that. Then I
sure,
go ahead, and actually suicide rates go up
yep,
as we over the years begin to see people post things. And you mentioned some specific, like, influencer s type, maybe we could think of some people that grew their likes and grew their followers, and so we gave them this idea that they were somebody, and then because they would say things or because other people would say, it became normal. And so those of us, whether aged even older or younger, there's older people, you and I go, wow, I can't believe this guy said something. His
dude, I
age, he should know better. But it doesn't matter.
yep,
Social media just became normal for you to express whatever you wanted. So
yeah,
because
and,
of
and,
that,
and by the way, matter of fact, we
professionalism,
see a ton. I think a lot of people think guys like you and I are talking about younger people. Some of the most insane stuff I see has nothing to
oh,
do with younger people.
no.
I mean, dead serious when I say that.
And they're they're the example. The older generation or the older people didn't they weren't the first ones on. So now they view it as this is normal. But we're going,
Good call.
wait, no, your generation, you would never do that publicly in
Yep.
somebody's face.
Yeah, think about this. If you are of a certain age, because I know it was in our age group. So if you're above the age of 40 right now, probably the age of like 38 and above, you were told never talk politics publicly.
Ah,
You can't say you weren't
or
raised that
religion.
way.
Yep.
Yeah, politics, money, and religion. You did not talk about those things public. By the way, not at a family event. I mean, it was known. And then you see some 60-year-old people and them talking you go, you weren't raised like, but like you
No.
said, It got
It's
normalized.
normalized.
I
Yeah.
got to give my 2 cents. We have this joke on one of our group chats talking about got to give my 2 cents. Hey, this is 2 cents so and so. Got to give us 2 cents, right? Got to give her 2 cents. We have a joke about it. And largely that's what ends up happening actually is that you don't realize that you're not in on the joke and people look at it and go, "Man, he's a really nice guy. Why is the social media so weird?" Like I don't think people realize that's what actually gets said by lots of people. And I'm not talking about like a judgment of somebody. It's just thrown into the ether of the world like, yeah, he kind of acts strange on social.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just go on about it's not like a 50-minute conversation or a 10-minute conversation. It just becomes a part of your ether of strange behavior. And then companies pass on you. You may have the greatest knowledge in the world, but because of social media behavior, and you and I can point to probably 10, 15 people that we know that companies have passed on doing business with that are like, yeah, I don't know, man. Have
When
you
you
seen
say
this?
companies, it's not just. I don't want people to think it's not just like manufacturers inside detailing. I mean, like I think
No, it's
there's actual
everybody.
companies passing on detailers doing business with them, like the oil and gas company down the street.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, for
it's
Oklahoma, it's oil and
yeah,
gas,
no,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah. But I mean, you're exactly right.
for
Like
you, it's
you
what
guys,
glass with all the sand, huh?
you guys think it's like us talking about us and detailing. No, no. Like we know actually, like I know executives on the strip that have called us and said, "Hey, we were working with this person, so and so. They act crazy on the internet. Can you come bid a job?" Like that happens all the time. All the time when you get to a certain like level and people know to call you, you'd be like, "Hey, I thought so and so had this contract." Well, said some problematic things on social media, and I'm like, and I go search, and I'm like, "What? Why?" I just like rub my eyes and go, "This isn't this guy." Like I've talked to this guy. What? But like you said, it's like it just becomes normalized. And it's such a good word to use. And all I want to tell people is from today is guys, if somebody lends you their lawnmower, which is like asking a vendor like us for a favor, come through. Hey, you asked for the favor. I don't have an issue with the favor. But then don't make me or someone else, not just us, don't make somebody track you down. You asked for the favor. It's no big deal. We all ask for favors at times. But knowing how to act in the moment is such a sign of professionalism. I told you about a project I had going on at my house that a couple guys had to come out several times. They got a pretty hefty tip for solving the issue. Like, hey man, I really appreciate you taking time to fix this. It's all good. Stuff happens. They took all the time in the world to explain it to me. Here, man, go grab a few lunches and dinners on me. I know this has been a headache. Thanks for the honesty. And when we come down to it, every one of us has freedom of speech. Every one of us can say whatever we want on the social platforms and publicly and privately and whatever. You're going to be judged by it though. That you're not free from the judgment. And if you're good with it and you go, dude, I don't care. People can think what they want. They're not my customer. Cool, brother. That's the way you should look at it. But you are going to lose opportunities because of those types of things. And as long as you're good with it, and you never complain about being slow and you never complain about the hand you're dealt, then I think it's perfectly fine. We don't seem to see that though. We see a lot of complaining and all this brand and I should be working for that brand and they should have done. It's like, dude, you act crazy on the internet. They're not going to partner with you because you act crazy on the internet. And that's just a simple example. There's a million other ones, but I think that's the easiest one to point out.
Yeah, and I think what most people are really itching to do is go to hyperCLEAN store, grab that liquid elements polisher. You heard about it. You wanted us to get finished, so you could just go over there and grab it. It really is something you need to check out. I definitely think Velo is going to dominate now with the combination of everything that we put together.
Sure.
It was a great discussion, Nick. But everybody go over to hypercleanstore.com. Go check out the new polisher, new pads.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.